Hey everyone, Burning Crusade is right around the corner, and now is a great time for you to start thinking about your strategy to reach level 70. Hellfire Peninsula will be completely packed at launch, even with layering in place. Completing a single quest will be an absolute nightmare with all the lag and players competing for mob tags. So, the go-to strategy seems to be dungeon leveling. However, many dungeon leveling guides out there have unrealistic requirements for a lot of us. Most of them are based on you having both a reliable group of 4 friends to level with and a decent amount of gear from AQ40 and Naxxramas. I feel like most players will not have access to both of these things, if any, but you still want to reach level 70 without being stuck for hours competing with other players. So today, I wanted to make a video to lay out a simple, casual friendly dungeon leveling route that you can do even if you're playing with pugs and if you don't have a ton of great gear from vanilla. I will go over each dungeon on the route that I picked, let you know how many runs you should expect to be doing before reaching the next dungeon, and tell you what you should expect in the dungeons themselves. With that said, let's get started. So first off, as mentioned in the intro, this video will go over how many dungeon runs it takes to get from each level bracket between level 60 and 70. However, I will stop at level 68 since level 68 is where you should start doing your Karazhan attunement quest. I will also give you some suggestions if you either don't want to do that for whatever reason or if you haven't reached level 70 by the time you're done with the quest chain. As mentioned, this route is very safe. Every dungeon in TBC has mobs ranging from 3 levels. For example, in Blood Furnace, you will only find mobs and bosses at level 61, 62, and 63. The math is based on you being level 62 in Blood Furnace, which is a very safe level to start this dungeon. Most other guides will suggest you to start Blood Furnace right away from level 60, for example, but they do mention that you will need a reliable group of 4 players and enough hit gear to be able to deal damage to those higher level mobs. I am not going that route. I assume most people watching this video will not have both these requirements, if either. So that's why I'm keeping the route very safe and basing the math on you being around the average level of the mobs inside the dungeons. With that said, if you still want to take a more risky route, you can still follow this guide. Running dungeons below the average level of the mobs inside increases your overall XP gain by about 5% per level. So 5% if you're 1 level below, 10% if you're 2 levels below, and 15% if you're 3 levels below. 4 levels below starts to become really iffy as the mobs will sometimes give you full XP and sometimes half the XP and sometimes not any XP at all. So I really don't suggest you running slave pens at level 60, for example, as your XP gain will suffer a lot. With that said, let's get started. Remparts is the first dungeon I recommend you start with. The mobs inside are around level 61. It should net you around 33k average XP per run, and getting from level 60 to 61 requires 494k XP, so it takes about 15 runs to reach level 61. Most people recommend skipping Remparts, because it's too short and you could reach the dungeon limit. Again, that's only if you have a reliable leveling group, and if you have enough hit rating gear to go straight to Blood Furnace. Remember the rule, 5% more XP per mobs above your level. So if you want to go to Blood Furnace, it would give you around 10% more XP on average at this level. From 61 to 62, I still recommend you stay in Remparts. Mobs are around level 62 still, and they net you around 32k average XP per run. It takes 575k XP to level to 62, which turns out to be around 18 runs. Again, this route is very safe and it assumes you don't have both a reliable group of 4 players and good gear. If you're missing any of those 2 requirements, stay in Remparts. Otherwise, go to Blood Furnace. It should be safer now, and you can multiply the XP in the next section by 5%. From 62 to 63 is when you should enter Blood Furnace. Mobs are around level 62, with 39k average XP per run. It takes 614k XP to reach level 63, which is around 15.5 runs. If you're doing this at level 60, multiply the average XP by 10% and do the math by yourself. Blood Furnace has a lot of dangerous packs of mobs. It is, however, very straightforward and has a shortcut to the entrance like most dungeons in TBC. Once you hit level 63, the next dungeon you should enter is Slave Pens, with mobs around level 63. 46k average XP per run is what you should expect to get, and it takes 650k XP to reach level 64, which nets around 14 runs. Slave Pens has a lot of neutral mobs inside, which are slaves, and you should always kill them before killing the slave masters, otherwise they will turn friendly and run away. There's also a lot of hidden trash packs inside this dungeon. Make sure to check every corner around this instance. The only downside of Slave Pens is that it has no shortcut to the start, so you will have to run back. From level 64 to 65, you should enter Underbog. The mobs inside are around level 64. Each run gives around 41k average XP, and it takes 682k XP to reach level 65. So you will need to run Underbog 17 times to reach level 65. The Underbog is very straightforward, but it also has a lot of hidden packs of mobs, so make sure to kill everything around. It also has a shortcut back to the entrance, and as you can see, Underbog gives quite less XP than Slave Pens, even though the mobs are around one level higher. So you might want to consider sticking to Slave Pens until level 65, as it gives a bit more XP. The choice is up to you. If you felt like Slave Pens was easier, then stick to it. Next up, we have Mana Tombs between level 65 and 66. The mobs inside are around level 65, with 41 average XP per run, and 710 XP to reach level 66, which should be around 17 runs. Mana Tombs has a shortcut to the entrance, which is good, but Mana Tombs only gives reputation with Consortium, which has some useful items but isn't as important as other reputations, since it doesn't unlock a heroic key. Running normal dungeons to unlock heroic dungeons is probably a big reason why you chose dungeon leveling, so I don't suggest you stay inside Mana Tombs for too long. From 66 to 67, Auchenai Crypts is your next destination. The mobs inside are around level 66 with 35k average XP per run. It requires you to get 735k XP to reach level 67, which is around 21 runs of Auchenai Crypts. Don't be fooled by how much XP Auchenai gives. That's because it's a very short dungeon, which you can clear quite fast, so the XP per hour turns out to be quite decent. And unlike Mana Tombs, Auchenai Crypts gives reputation with lower city, which is a more important reputation than Consortium. And then from 67 to 68, we have Sethekk halls. Mobs inside are around level 67 with 65k average XP per run, and it requires 734k XP to reach level 68, which is around 21 runs. Sethekk halls is another straightforward dungeon with a shortcut to the entrance. Remember to pick the key inside the chest behind the last boss in one of your runs, as this will give you access to the next dungeon, Shadow Labyrinth, which is part of the Crusade Attunement quest. At level 68, you should start your Crusade Attunement quest chain and do any dungeons required for it. I'm not gonna go over every part of this quest chain, there's a lot of very good guides for it on YouTube, but by the end, you should be level 70 or very close to it. If you want to farm some more dungeons to level 70, I recommend going back to either Sethekk halls if you want to play it safe, or if you feel up to it, farm Shadow Labyrinth, which should be a dungeon that you already have done by now for your Crusade Attunement, so you'll be able to make this decision by yourself based on your experience with Shadow Labyrinth. With that said, you should be level 70 by now. Congratulations. I hope you found this video interesting. If you did, make sure to leave a like and let me know in the comments if you're gonna go with dungeon leveling yourself. Whether you're thinking about sticking with questing from 60 to 70 or whether you're going to have a mix of the two. With that said, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.